In 1986, I was diagnosed with pancreas cancer, which had spread to my liver, gallbladder, and spleen. The doctors told me I had 3 months to live, to go home, get my finances in order, and prepare to die. My husband just wouldn't accept it. I was only 46 at the time, far too young, so we came home, did therapy for 2 years. After 3 months, my doctors here wondered why I was still living. They asked me if I would have a CAT scan, which I did. The masses of the cancer had gone. They said, "I don't know what you're doing. We don't want to know what you're doing. Just keep doing it." The doctors at that time said I would never live to see my second grandchild, which he is now 19 years old. So we proved them wrong.
After the therapy, we went back to Utah to a specialist on blood, and she said my blood was so clean and clear that she couldn't tell I'd ever had cancer, and she said I was the first patient that ever happened to.
Yes, and after I had gone back to the oncologist after I had done the GERSON therapy for a couple months, at that time when they had found that I was cured of cancer from the CT scan that they had done on my abdomen, he couldn't believe it. He thought it was a miracle.
For the 10 years following being on the GERSON therapy, which took a year and a half, I started going back to the Mayo Clinic and seeing Dr. Scott, who was an oncologist there, just for checkups to be sure I was clear. And he said everything was like an 18-year-old again. My blood profile was perfect, and he couldn't believe how I looked and how much energy I had, and he asked me what I'd done, and I went over the GERSON therapy with him. Dr. Scott said, "That's great," but he said that we can't sell that.
Il dottor Wallace Simpson dirige la Scientific Review of Alternative Medicine, la pubblicazione scientifica ufficiale sulle cure alternative e sulle aberranti pratiche mediche che sostiene di analizzare in modo scientifico ed obiettivo.
Well, has the GERSON therapy ever cured a cancer patient?
Oh, of course not. They won't even release their records. So,
what would it take for you to be convinced that this therapy is has credibility?
well, first of all, they have to show some reason why it should work. We know how cancers behave, and we know the kinds of things that cause cancer. So they have to come up with some kind of a believable theory of why their diet should work. But second of all, they'd have to convince us that everything we know about it in the past 50 years is wrong, and they're right. Now, how are they going to come up with material like that? That's impossible. They don't have it.
Dr. GERSON documented so many recoveries, yet those recoveries are not available to the public. Those published articles have been published in Europe, but have not been allowed to be published in American journals.
Il dottor Stephen Barrett si può considerare l'equivalente moderno di Maurice Fishbein. Attestato alla guida della sua pubblicazione Quack Watch, che significa guardia contro i ciarlatani, da tempo denuncia pubblicamente tutte le cure che la medicina ufficiale ritiene essere frodi o inganni senza valore.
Take the GERSON therapy, for example. GERSON was a physician who claimed that he could cure cancer with diet and a number of other methods. There's absolutely no scientific evidence that he's cured anyone.
I was investigated 5 times. Every time they come, I show them, here's a patient you sent home to die, cured. Other patient, you sent home to die, cured. Next patient, you sent home to die, cured.
If the GERSON therapy were permitted inside the United States, and I believe that it should be, we would see a dramatic decrease in deaths from cancer. I would estimate the fatality rate would go down by at least 50%, very possibly more so.
The GERSON therapy was known some 75 years ago. If doctors know there's a cure and send patients home to die, that is an atrocity worse than the Holocaust.